lectures of English subject. Today we are going to learn the third poem from the book First Flight. The name of the poem is A Tiger in the Zoo and it is written by Leslie Norris. Before starting the poem, let me ask you people a question. Did you ever visit a zoo? I am pretty sure you all must have visited a zoo. So what do you find there? How do the animals react there? Are they active? Are they inactive? What is the comparison between the animals who are in the zoo and the animals who are in their natural habitat? So let us start the poem. In the poem, the poet Leslie Norris has described a tiger who is inside a zoo, inside the cage of a zoo. Okay. Now you all know tiger is the king of the forest. He lives in the in his natural habitat. But when he is put into a zoo, into a cage which is very narrow, what is the feeling of that tiger? So the poet here has drawn a contrast between the tiger who is inside the zoo, inside the cage of the zoo, and a tiger who is in his natural habitat. Okay, so let us see the poem now. I will explain the poem stanza wise and also tell you the poetic devices used in the poem. Coming to the first stanza, he stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Now, the first stanza describes the tiger who is inside the cage of the zoo. Okay. Now, from the very beginning line, when you see, he is used for an animal. The poet Leslie Norris, he has used he for an animal. For whom do we use he? For human beings. He, she are is pronoun and it is used for human beings. But in this poem, he is used for an animal, for a tiger. So here comes our first poetic device, that is personification. When the human trait or the things which are used for human beings are used for animals or any other things, then it is personification. Okay. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Stalks means to move quietly and slowly in a threatening way. Okay. So the poet says here that the tiger is inside the cage. So he walks very quietly and slowly inside the cage. The cage is very narrow and his vivid stripes. Vivid means very bright and clear. So you can see on the physical appearance of the tiger, he has got narrow bands over his body. So that is called as stripes here. Okay. So he is walking very quietly and slowly inside the cage with his very bright and clear stripes, that narrow bands which he has in his body. The few steps of his cage, the area inside the cage is very less. Okay, he has got very narrow space. So within that cage itself, the tiger is moving very quietly and slowly. On pads of velvet quiet. Now pads here refers to the below part of the paws of the tiger. When you see the legs, which is also known as paws, when you see the lower part of that paws, that is very soft. Okay, so this is referred to as pads here. On pads of velvet quiet. Now the paws of the tiger has been compared to velvet. So here we get our second poetic device, that is metaphor. Okay, velvet is the metaphor here, just because the paws of the tiger has been compared with velvet. Velvet quiet in his quiet rage. So he is walking on his paws inside the cage, in a very narrow cage, and he is angry from inside, just because he has been put inside a cage, and he is quiet also, just because he is helpless, he cannot do anything. Okay. Now here comes our third poetic device, quiet rage. Rage means anger. Quiet is the opposite of anger. So both these words have different meanings but are used in the same place. Quiet rage. So here comes our third poetic device, that is oxymoron. oxymoron, oxymoron. The fourth poetic device in this stanza is enjambment. I have already told you the meaning of enjambment. It means when in a stanza we don't have any pauses in between, no comma, no semicolon, and two to three lines are continuously written. It is known as enjambment. Let us see the second stanza. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. Now in the first stanza, what did the poet describe? He described the tiger who is inside the cage of the zoo. In the second stanza, the poet talks about the tiger who is in his natural habitat. He is not inside the cage. If he would have been in his natural habitat, what would he be doing there? Okay. He should be lurking in shadow. Lurking means to hide. Okay. So the poet here says that if he would have been in the forest, what he would be doing now? He would be hiding in a shadow place, sliding through long grass. Sliding means moving. So if you have seen, if you must have seen the Discovery Channel or in any news, so you would have seen the tiger crossing from the long grasses, trying to catch its prey. Usually the prey is deer. Okay. So he is moving across the long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Plump means fat, bulky. So the tiger will cross the long grass and he will go near the water side to catch its prey, that is deer. Usually deer come to drink water near the water. Okay. So the tiger always is waiting for the deer so that it could come here and he could catch. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Now snarling means roaring loudly and angrily. Now the poet here says that if the tiger would have been in his natural habitat and if he couldn't get its prey, what he would do? He would come to the countryside where, near the roads where the village people live. So he will come there and he will make that terror there. He should be snarling around houses. He would move around houses and he would roar very loudly and angrily at the jungle's edge, at the edge of the jungle. He would come to the houses which are at the edge of the jungle if he did not get its prey in the jungle. Bearing his white fangs, his claws. Bearing means showing. So showing his white fangs. Fangs means long and very sharp teeth, as you must have seen two sharp teeth at the front to catch prey, to eat it. So tigers have those fangs. So he will show that fangs to the village people and he would roar very loudly, terrorizing the village, making them frightened, making the village people frightened. Let us come to the fourth paragraph. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now, first stanza talks about the tiger who is inside the cage. Second and third stanza talks about the tiger, if he would have been in the forest, how he would have been doing. Now the fourth stanza again talks about the tiger who is inside the zoo, inside the cage of the zoo. But he is locked in a concrete cell. But what? The tiger is locked in a cage, in a concrete cell. His strength behind bars. All his power, all his strength is behind the bars of the cage. Stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. So he is just moving around quietly and slowly, and he is ignoring the visitors. Just because in the zoo, if you would have seen, visitors come and go the whole day, the tiger did not get rest. Okay, so it is said that he ignores visitors. Coming to the last paragraph. Let us come to the last paragraph, the fifth paragraph of the poem. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Now the poet here is feeling pity for the tiger, and he says that he hears the last voice at night. The tiger did not get rest all over the day just because visitors were visiting the zoo. They were making noises, so the tiger do not get rest at daytime, and even at night he is not getting peace, some sort of peace. Why? Because the patrolling cars go on moving in the night. Patrolling means the people who are taking care of the zoo, they take a round of the zoo at night just to see whether everything is safe or not. So that is known as patrolling. So those people, when they do patrolling from their cars, so that noise comes, and even at night the tiger is not feeling good and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So he is just looking at the brilliant stars over the sky, and he is staring them. He is thinking when I would get free and I will get to my go back to my natural habitat. Maybe he is also thinking that these stars are the same whether the tiger be in the cage or he be in his natural surrounding. So these stars are common there. Even if I would have been in the forest, I could see the same stars which I can see from here also. So overall, the poet Leslie Norris, he has compared the life of a tiger who is inside the zoo and the life of a tiger who is in his natural habitat, natural surroundings, natural environment, that is forest. So this was all about the poem. It shows how the animals, how the tiger, he is not at all active inside the zoo as he could have been in his natural habitat. Okay, poetic devices, I have already told you what were the poetic devices used in this poem. So this was all about the poem. Until the next video, keep learning and keep recalling. Thank you.